Adrian Niculescu, the host of DAO1 Community Hackathon, and we are in the first day of the live battle between the startups, the teams, the developers, and I have with me a special guest and a dear friend, Noble A. DraKoln, who is a very, very experienced investor, and we'll talk about fundraising for early stage startups. Noble, welcome to DAO1 Community Hackathon, and please make yourself comfortable and introduce yourself.
Hey, Adrian, good to be here. I'm so excited for this project. I've been watching you as you put this together and seeing it evolve and develop, so I'm so glad it's here now. So for me, my experience is very unique in the investment space. I actually started out, I graduated high school when I was 17 and a half. And the first project I decided to do was try and get an investor to purchase a coffee house with a couple of friends of mine. And that was the first time I actually wrote a business plan, started pitching local investment offices and local investors. And we actually succeeded in raising our first almost $80,000. I was only 17 and my other partners were 20 and 22. So, we were very excited at what the idea of going out and finding investors looked like. And then at 19, I got my license as a commodities broker and became one of the youngest people, I guess, in the nation with a Series 3 license. And, over the last almost 30 years of my experience, I've run a hedge fund, I've run a brokerage, I've been an angel investor. I have a fund that I've started with an accelerator, M-Accelerator, in Los Angeles, in which we made one of our first investments in a group called Fertility Circle. And so on the side of being the investor and finding funds, I've been there. But I've also been a person who's raised capital. We actually have in-house a group of about a dozen people who call on behalf of various companies, both publicly and private, who are trying to raise funds for private placements. And so in my career, I've probably raised over easily $250 million in, directing funds and finding funds for different projects. And in all that time, I would like to say to people that there really is no one clear, distinct pathway to raise money. It's almost a myriad of things, almost a patchwork quilt of ways to raise capital, and you have to find the ways that best fit you. But what I do believe is that your first investment should come from yourself. And I love hackathons like this because they start giving people the ability and the idea to create their prototype, Adrian. And when they create that prototype, it starts to make them realize or really think about the problem solution set that they're trying to solve, and if their project even hits the mark. And what I've noticed is that because of Silicon Valley and big paydays and people seeing quote unquote overnight success, even if it's been decades in the making, like Airbnb and some of the other ones have gone public, the idea is fast money. Being an entrepreneur is fast money. You'll make a lot of money and investors will throw money at you because you're so smart and so brilliant. And there's almost this complete ignoring of the customer in a lot of instances. And it's unfortunate because the only people that really matter are the customers. They have the problem, you have the solution. And I think that not enough companies start off by bootstrapping their projects and using their proceeds from their business to then sustain and exponentially move their growth. Because if you take your profits and you're constantly reinvesting in doing more customer acquisition, you quickly discover that your need for outside capital changes in a big way. And so there's a lot of misconceptions that go on, Adrian. So with raising capital and what you have to give up in order to do it. And a lot of people don't really understand the price. And by the end of it, they're very frustrated by the price they did pay.
What do you recommend for very, very early stage startup? in terms of fundraising. So first, you said you start with your own money, of course, if you can, and I see a lot of pitches, and everybody wants money, and they say that they don't have any other problems. Everything is okay with their startup. They just want money. They want somebody to join the party with 50,000, 100,000, 1 million is like that. Snapping the fingers, joining the party. And they said, okay, everything is perfect. We have this, we have that. We only need money. Is this something real or not? It's like a misconception or...
Adrian, 90% of startups fail. You tell me, even when they get the money. They say the problem with most businesses is that it falls into two categories early on. Within the first 5 years, having too much money or too little money can ruin a business. And actually, you've described the latter, where people believe that if they only had this, they would be better off. And then the question I always pursue with them is, so why won't you get more customers? If you only need 100,000 and you're, let's say it's a SaaS product, and each customer to you is valued at $500 per year. So you really need an additional, I don't know, every 10 customers is $5,000. So every 100 is 50,000. So why don't you go out and get another 100 customers? So it's one
Correct.
of these, my question is always like, do you believe in your business enough to sell it, or are you really fixated on the idea of lack? And I think that the idea is that most businesses try and create projects and operate projects outside their means. So it's always great to have ambition, but sometimes it's good to have staggered ambition. Windows, and anybody who has a PC, you heard about the Windows 11 announcement. I don't know if you saw about this, Adrian. So Windows 11 is coming. So in my entire lifetime, in the last 30 years since I was 8 years old, maybe 7 years old using computers, Windows has not even been finished. It's an incomplete project. We've gone so many versions of Windows, and each time they've introduced it into the community. And Vista, I don't know if everybody remembers Vista and how Vista tanked. Windows XP, Windows 1 through, 3.003 I used to use. I used to love that back in the day before they jumped to, Windows, whatever it was, the next one. So the reason I'm saying that is because people are so afraid to make a just bare minimal product. They're so afraid to just make an MVP and sell that MVP. And the cost of that, of not just making a nice minimum viable product that will sustain and fulfill the needs of the customer, the cost of that is your business. So by the time that most people go through the gauntlet of angel round to then finally getting to the venture rounds, going from A to E, most founders are really employees. They only own 4 to 6%, maybe 4 to 6% of the company. Nowadays, it's running between 2 and 4. Because a lot of venture capitals are entering into the seed round now. So by the end of you going public, you own 2 to 4% of your company. You've been an employee for the length of time from Series A all the way to Series E. And that's not a good feeling at the level of dilution that goes on in a project or an idea that you came up with. And so the question always people say is, well, the trade-off is we get to grow faster, bigger, better. But oftentimes around Series B, most of the people who are founders are removed from any role in deciding the growth of the company. They've installed their CEOs, CFOs, and the heads of their company. So for someone like Mark Zuckerberg, and people keep forgetting that Steve Jobs was actually fired from Apple at one point because of this same scenario, you actually have to skip a few rounds of traditional financing in order to retain more equity in your business and to continue to push the valuations up. And it's something that a lot of founders don't want to hear because it takes a lot of work to raise capital. I remember when I first started at 19, just trying to get assets under management, I used to have to call 200 250 to 300 people every day just to get 2 to 5 qualified leads a day. So out of over the three, at the end of the week, I will have called maybe 1,500 to 2,000 plus people just to get a total of maybe 10 to 20 leads of people who could invest. And at the end of the day, out of that 10 to 20, maybe 2 to 3 would invest. So out of a total of 2,000 leads, I would get 3 people to put their money with me. So you do the math. 10% would have been 200. 1% would have been 20. So I'm at a third of 1% in my close ratio, and that was a success. And so people don't really realize that the work that needs to be done for the business is twofold. It's the work of building the widget, the work of selling the widget, and then it's the work of selling the business that builds the widget that sells the widget. And that's a whole business in and of itself.
Yes, nobody seems, of course, nobody. A lot of people don't want to work these days. We are about instant gratification. We just want to post a tweet and everybody to come throwing money, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the instant gratification culture. But in the end, as you said, it could be depressing to say, okay, I need to call 2,000 people in order to get 2 paying clients,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you do this like manual labor, like to call these people and to get so many no's. And at the end of the day, this is the major difference between the formal education and the entrepreneurship education, because with the formal education, if you fail, if you get a C or something like that, you are considered a failure. You are a success if you get only straight A's.
Mm-hmm.
But in the entrepreneurship world, between so many setbacks and failures, you have the bits of success. So it's a different type of
Mm-hmm.
thinking.
It is.
How, let's say at the beginning, when you don't have any network and
Mm-hmm.
you don't have any name and you don't have any history, how you can make investors and other stakeholders to trust you? Which is the one thing you can do to instill trust in yourself from other.
Yeah, it still, it still comes back to some real core things. And the core of it is you have to find the network. I started out getting investment for my businesses when I was 19. What network was I a part of? I wasn't a part of an alumni yet. I wasn't a part of any major clubs. I wasn't part of, social clubs and social networks. And so the way that I found investors was the telephone. That's where I started in the industry. And then post that, I started joining those clubs. And I created a name for myself because I wrote a book and I published the book. And then I would share that book with people that I did want to be connected with. It's one of those things that the investors are there and they're looking for great opportunities. Adrian, you and I see it all the time. Everyone's talking about, I don't have enough deals. I don't have enough deal flow. I don't have any projects. And the reality is, it's the fault of the entrepreneurs for not taking themselves out of their comfort zone to go to the places where those investors are, playing golf or, joining a country club. There's an investment that needs to be made in yourself in order for you to find the success that you're looking for. And that investment is going to be full spectrum, whether it's just placing ads in Facebook that have and finding people who invest, or accredited investors or investors that will see your ads. There's always going to be a component of manual work in any of this, whether you're calling, whether you're placing ads, whether you're creating creatives, whether you're going out to meet people. But I tell people this, and it's not to be harsh, but if you cannot sell your business to investors, maybe this is not the right business for you. Because where is your level of enthusiasm? it doesn't have your pitch. We get all caught up in having the perfect pitch deck and the perfect slides, and there's tons of material out there that will help you do that. We even help people. People hire us all the time to create good pitch decks for them. But at the end of the day, you have to communicate both your passion and your idea, and realize that the investors are investing in you. The paper looks good, but everyone knows the engine is the founder and his team. And if the founder has lack of passion or seems to be looking that they're just trying to make a quick money grab or a quick buck, like you said, Adrian, the investors smell it. They can sniff it out. And they realize that this is not someone that we can work with for the next 4 to 5 years. Because this is really the time it takes to build a company. No matter how much you throw at it, it takes that amount of time before you get through all of the rounds of financing, get all to the points of growth. And, and to add on top of that, investors want to see founders that understand their limitations. Just because you can run a 20-man team or a 5-man team doesn't mean you can run a 2,000-man operation. And so investors want to be cognizant that you are cognizant of preparing for that by bringing on the right teammates and the right partners, or are willing to step aside if that becomes the case. So it's one of those things that a lot of beginners at the beginning with nothing, they have to step outside their comfort zone and not be afraid to make all the steps necessary to meet everybody they need to meet. Doing a hackathon like this, going to different pitch festivals and pitch fests. That's how you make those connections, and you don't stop. You're relentless in your pursuit of the capital you need to grow, and at the same time, you still run your business.
Correct. You are a judge in the current DAO One International Hackathon, and thank you very much for your contribution, and also for the incubator that follows the hackathon. You are one of the confirmed speakers, experts, mentors. When you look at an early stage startup from the competition judge point of view, which is, let's say, the most important thing you are looking at first?
Contingency plan. The idea that the project that you started with is not necessarily the business you'll end up with. It's very easy to fall in love with how brilliant we are, but the reality is it's about iterative design and seeing how people are planning to evolve the business and what the roadmap looks like as it evolves is very important to me, because Amazon is a prime example. They started off selling books online. Now they're the world leader in everything: entertainment, shipping. They own their own airplanes. All of this stuff started from a simple idea of doing books. They could have not had iterative design and not come up with the SaaS.
I think I lost you, Noble. Hello, I think I lost you, Noble.
But no, it just all I was saying is that, as a startup, you just have to go ahead and stretch yourself and jump into the networks, be a part of these things, and not be afraid to sell the business every way you can. Don't hold back in letting people know about your business. It's very scary. There's a lot of fear associated with it, but just to step in and to go for it.
This is very important. And what do you think that it's the best way to finance an early stage startup right now? Also for the community, maybe you can mention your latest involvement in the entertainment NFT space, which is very, very exciting. And
yeah, so there's a lot of ways to just start, but I would tell people, tone down, create a minimum viable product and find the least expensive way to create that, and then target friends and family to help you and get started. Because raising money is a business in and of itself, and it could take months, if not years, to raise the capital. I've seen entrepreneurs stuck in limbo for 5, 6, 7, 8 months at a time, trying to raise only $50,000 or $100,000, when they maybe could have started with 10 or 15,000 and got 5 friends, or even themselves worked a part-time job to get $15,000 together. So it's one of those things to create just an MVP. And so don't let money be your deterrent for your success, or you maybe could have pre-sold. So one of the things that we did was we created a project where we buy music royalties and catalogs, and we created a series of NFTs that will give people access to stake in our music royalties in our catalog. And it was a very simple model. Well, the staking mechanism hasn't started, Adrian, and we are not well known in the NFT space. We sold over $1 million worth of NFTs, and we haven't even launched the staking. And so sometimes it's smart to just be where the marketplace is as well, and then tapping into that gestalt in growing the business. And so now we have cash to continue to buy more catalogs. We've hired PR firms to help us promote, and now we're
you are losing the sound. I can't hear you at all right now. No, I can't hear you at all. No. Doesn't work. Hello? No, let me refresh from this. I restarted the recording.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean, so with the band royalty, we created a project where we bought music catalogs, and then we shared that with individuals utilizing the NFT format. And NFTs are a great way to pre-sell a project. And so there's a lot of ways to pre-sell and get investors. I've done Kickstarters for my projects. I've done NFTs. We've done crypto. We're about to do an IDO. Along with eventually an initial exchange offering, an IEO for our project. So there's things that I believe that if people stay to their pulse or their finger on the pulse of what's going on, there's more capital than they expect to grow their project. They just have to look at their project and think about them in a different way.
Perfect. So I want to thank you very much for being part of DAO1 Hackathon and incubation. And where people can find you?
Easy to find me.
The startups and also the community members.
Yeah, it's easy to find me. You can find me on LinkedIn, Noble DraKoln. Just type in my name, easy to find me. Or you can use my last name on Twitter and do @DraKoln on Twitter, and then catch up with me there. And for the most part, you can go to bandroyalty.com just to see what we're doing over there as well, to give people an image of how we're using NFTs to raise capital.
Perfect. Thank you very much, and all success with your projects. And can't wait to meet you again in the incubation project.
Yeah.
And of course, with judging the startups, the teams, the developers in DAO One Community Hackathon.
Looking forward to it. Talk to you soon, Adrian.
Thank you.